Video for you guys because you've asked me how I trade, and I just wanted to give you a look at like what I use. So this platform right here is called ThinkorSwim, and this is what I do my charting and just kind of look at the market, and then I use the Top Step account. This is just a practice account, but this is what I'll use for my order executions. I have a practice account here because I might make some trades. So we'll show you that. Okay. So this morning I actually took a trade, and I want to show you how I plotted those lines. Now let me first give you kind of a rundown of like what is on this chart. So these are candlesticks, right? So a close above that's green means, there's buyers in place, red, and a close down is there's sellers, right? So that's kind of just like the basics. So you can see this is pre-market around 6 a.m. Mountain Time, so that's 8 a.m. in New York. So there was a test of this 200 moving day average. So first off, I want to give you my, like what I have on my chart so you can see. So I use an 8-day moving average, an exponential moving average, a 21. So the 8 is this blue line that you can see. It moves a little bit faster. The yellow is the 21, and then the 200 is the red. Okay, so this is actually really good to see kind of like where some support levels are. Obviously I'll draw my lines, but you can see on like a larger time frame, like an hour, it came down to that moving average, didn't break it, it bounced off of it, right? I have volume, open interest, so this is the volume, and then I have this thing called the squeeze, which is something I bought from my mentor. You can get it at Simpler Trading. If you use TradingView, there is a free one that you can use. I don't know if it's as good. I've used it kind of, but I mostly use ThinkorSwim. I've used it for like 8 years, so I'm just kind of like set in my ways, but you can definitely use TradingView if you want to. So that's my settings on my chart. So this is what I look for, a squeeze. So what this is, and I'll actually use this on this 5-minute. You can see these red dots. So these are basically just showing that there's like power being compressed, and that you're going to see a greater than like average move either to the downside or the upside. Today you can see, and this is the 1-hour chart, but basically the last like day or so, the moving averages are crossing this and that, and it's essentially bound in this range, right? So there's a bunch of moving averages crossed versus like stacked together. If we go, let's go back a little bit. Man, the last couple days have been crazy. Maybe we can find it on a lower time frame. Okay, so let me show you this as an example. So in this case right here, let's zoom in a little bit more. The moving averages are stacked. This is actually, let's see if we can find an open. Okay, right here. So the moving averages are above each other in this case. So 8, 21, 200, right? Now when the moving averages are stacked and you see a squeeze, you can see it comes and touches the moving average, and then it just, boom, it breaks this level at 7, 8, 9, which I think this was actually, yeah, Thursday we took this trade. So we drew a level here on our order execution platform, and it just skyrocketed, right? Now, you're probably thinking like, why did it? Well, one, there was momentum. It was going in the direction of longs or up. And once we broke that level, there was like stops in place, and it just took out all those levels. Another key indicator, and this is what I use for my confluence, is a squeeze. So when there's chop like this, there's pressure building up, and then it has to escape somewhere. So that's what I look for. Like, okay, cool. So we have a squeeze building. That's awesome. This is my level. If it breaks this level, we're going to look for 50 points higher. That's exactly what happened. And if you've looked at some of the other trainings that I've done, how I find my take profits is I'll use Fibonacci's. So I'll take this previous high and the previous low, and you can see it lined up with my take profits like perfectly. So I did a take profit at 100%, 127, and I actually had a runner that went up to the 1618. Okay, so that's how I find my take profit levels. Like if I'm in here, and I think my entry was actually 81. Yeah, so my entry was 81. Went in 81, and then you can have a take profit at 89, 98, and 810 if you want, or just do 3, 5, 10, or 5, 10, 15 for your take profit points, whatever is most comfortable for you. So that's what I look for in the mornings, okay? And so I'm going to come back over to this chart. Whoops. That we used today. And you can see that I had drawn the level at 32, which means like this was like the high that I was looking for it to break. And then this was the potential low, okay? So I marked out 21669 as if it breaks that, then these are our take profit points. If it breaks 32, then we have 36, 40, and 45 as our take profits. And then you can have a runner on and just move your stop loss up, right? So that was what I was looking at this morning. So let's go back to these charts, okay, so I can show you this morning. Okay, so this is obviously a little bit later in the day. Whoops. Let me erase these Fibonacci levels. Okay, so this is the same chart I was looking at today, right? Now on the 15 minutes, you can obviously plot your lines, but earlier I was actually looking at the 1 hour pre-market and saw that it had come down to this 200 moving day average. So I went to my order execution platform, and let's see if I can make this smaller so you can see it side by side. Okay, so this is what we're looking at. And zoom in, whoops. So you can see this low here of 69. That's that low, right? So I marked that as the low. I see that it's at the 200, which is a support. And then we looked for it to break 32, okay? And that happened like fast, 1 bar. This is a 5-minute bar. It went from 700 all the way to 770, so 70 points just like that. And so what we did is we just waited for it to break above this, which it did, and took our profit and then had a runner that ran along it. So that's why these levels are so important to draw, and why I draw them, because you can, sure, if I had this and I looked at this chart and I said, okay, if it breaks 32, great, I'm going to buy. But when you don't have a plan like written down, you don't really have a plan, right? So same thing goes with trading. If you don't have a plan or these lines written down, it's really hard to make decisions, especially fast and like decisive decisions. And so that's why I look at my charts, I look at levels, and you can see right now that it held the 200, it blasted up, and it's had a pullback, and now it's holding these levels again, right? And this 778 level, it's actually crazy. Like the last probably 4 or 5 sessions we've talked about it, how important it is, and it's magnetic. It just keeps holding that. And the reason for that is, let's go to the daily chart, is that was like, this is a daily level that it just keeps bouncing off of, right? And you can see there's been a bunch of price action traded in this range. So we're range bound. We actually have a squeeze. So this whole, I mean, look at this. This is crazy. It's pretty much been in consolidation for the last, let's see, pretty much since Christmas, a little bit after Christmas. But so we haven't had any, I obviously had some massive moves because this is the daily chart, but now we're just consolidating, and the moving averages are stacked above. So we're going to keep looking for higher highs. So that's from a game plan, from a trend standpoint, momentum, we're looking for higher highs. And then that's when we go back to our daily charts and see that this is just keeps going up. But that's why we have our take profits also in place, is because, you know, we had this big burst through, and then it essentially came back to below our entry or even at our entry. And then it actually held our entry. Look at that. So that key level was awesome. Held our entry and it's gone back up. But we take profit. You don't need the whole move. Take your profit, get out, and then if there is another opportunity to enter, you can enter. So that's how I trade in the mornings. So I'll look for those key levels. I'll plot them out. And then I'll execute, right? Now, I haven't done anything in this practice account today, but we did make $3,000 in our Express accounts, and I posted that in the profit section. But really, there's not a whole lot going on today now, which is why I like to trade in the mornings, because you get a lot of volume. Let's look at the volume here. Look at all this volume that came in the morning, and it's kind of like slowly just dwindled down. So trade in the morning, get in, get out, take your profits. So that's how I trade, and if you have any questions, let me know.